Today we are hanging out with Som Jandu, the president of the College of Practical Homeopathy, or CPH. Our listeners regularly email or DM me to ask where I would recommend they study. So part of my mission is to get as many homeopathic colleges on the show as possible for you to listen to and see who you resonate with most. Be sure to also scroll back a few episodes and listen to the founder of the CPH, Alan Kramer. CPH provides 2 courses that lead to a professional qualification. The first is the professional training course for people who are not healthcare professionals, and the second is the postgraduate course for existing healthcare professionals and even existing classical homeopaths. For more information on this, visit www.thecph.co.uk. Now, something really exciting is that Som has just announced that he is creating a 7-module family homeopathy course that takes people from knowing nothing about homeopathy to being able to confidently treat their family members. It does not make you a qualified professional, but it does qualify you to treat your family. It teaches methods of prescribing, therapeutics for common ailments, flower essences, tissue salts, herbal essences, travel therapeutics, and much more. If you would like to sign up for their brand new family homeopathy course, visit www.familyhomeopathy.com. Even better, Som has very kindly offered a 5% discount for our listeners, so be sure to use the code HH301 at checkout to receive your discount. So that's HH for Homeopathy Hangout 301. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the Homeopathy Hangout, where we discuss all things homeopathy from around the world. And now my mum and your host, Eugenie Kruger.
Hello, homies, and very warm welcome to Homeopathy Hangout. Today, we have the lovely Som Jandu on the show. Welcome, Som. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you, Eugenie. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today, and I'm excited about the things we're going to talk about, whatever they will be. Thank you for
exactly. I was just thinking when you said that, I was like, we didn't decide what we're going to talk about. We're winging this as we're going, so I'm excited too. So tell us a little bit about your journey to homeopathy. How did you discover this incredible healing art?
Okay, I'll keep it succinct. It's a fascinating journey, actually, because my background, I'm a clinical pharmacologist by qualification. So I did the allopathic route, did a degree in clinical pharmacology and biochemistry. Then I went off to study a PhD in neuroimmunopharmacology, which is about as scientific as it gets. Along that journey, though, my brother got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma whilst I was on my undergrad degree, which is one of the reasons I undertook the PhD, to be closer to him, so I could research and go and see him in between the afternoons and watch him go through chemo, helping him prepare his chemo, seeing the effects of what it does and doesn't do. And after 3 or 4 rounds of chemo, a couple of rounds of radiation, and even a bone marrow transplant from myself to him, we lost him a few years later. So I was a little bit disheartened with what modern medicine does. Little did I know that there are other healing arts out there. Being Indian as a background, my parents are from India. Ayurveda, natural herbs in the kitchen cupboard, cures, as we call them, are rife. So we all grew up with these things: take clove for a toothache, fennel for stomachache, etc. But then, about 15, 16 years ago, I was walking with one of my mentors in a different field on the lake of Lake Ontario in Toronto, Canada. And he was telling me about energy, and we were talking about the law of attraction. And he said, do you know that there's a system of medicine that deals with the energy within all plants, animals, and things on this universe, and that can heal? I was hooked. I said, I've got to learn more about this. So I read a few basic books, inquired about courses in Canada, in America. I was living in Canada at the time. And then I found this college in London run by Alan Kramer, the College of Practical Homeopathy. And so I enrolled. And I never really looked back. And the thing that struck me about her college was she taught something called CEO, we call it cause, effects, and obstacles to cure. I read all about Samuel Hahnemann, and I know about the symptom similarity. And if we match the symptoms, we can narrow it down to quite a few closely related remedies. And then we differentiate on the modalities and sensations, and we can rapidly effect a cure or healing, which is fantastic. But then upon talking with Ellen further, she said, I didn't just do the symptom similarity. I did the similarity of causation, focusing more on the mental emotionals, which, as we know, as above, so below, it cascades down and causes a physical manifestation in the body. So I thought, I like the sound of this. I like the way this lady's talking. So I enrolled. And I did the postgraduate course. Within a couple of modules, her word was, Som, you've grasped this quite well. And then I was hooked. And I couldn't heal and treat and get enough friends, family, and patients, etc. Then progressed through the course, became a tutor at the college, And a few years after that, I now co-run and co-own the college with Ellen, which I'm very proud of. Lockdown came 4 or 5 years ago, changed the world, changed the dynamic, changed people's mindsets. And as other healing arts, things where you have to touch people, physically heal them with your hands or use acupuncture or acupressure, they struggled. Homeopathy took off, Eugenie, as you're well aware, because we can treat people anywhere in the world. We do not have to physically examine them. We don't have to touch them. We have to take their case. We need a soft heart and compassionate mind, and we can pretty much treat anybody. And then the vaccines came along and the whole world was vaccinated. Then people started saying, actually, I don't mind the medicine, but this has not been tried and tested. So it created a wave of people more interested in alternatives to just being down the allopathic route. We're not here to give people an opinion on what's good or bad for them. We're just here to inform them. They can make an informed choice for themselves. So we're actually on a nice wave of people. Then we have the awakened generation who are very mindful. They don't drink and smoke as much anymore. They're very health conscious. They're very body conscious. That creates its own issues going forward, FOMO and narcissism and all sorts of things. But at the same time, they're very careful what they put into their bodies. And with Google out there, people are very well informed now. We're at the right time. I think homeopathy has finally found its time, which is why your platform connects us all around the world and gives us insights from everybody around the world. So that is my journey. And that led me here. And I describe homeopathy to our students and people I talk to. I said, it's like a superpower. You can't turn it off and you want to help everybody. It really is. You can't even walk down the street or catch a bus or go shopping without somebody sniffling or coughing and thinking, hang on a minute. And then you see a child who just has a tantrum on the floor thinking, if I had some chamomile, I'd just pop it in his mouth and we'll be done. People waiting in the queue getting angry at the last minute because the queues are too long. Give them a bit of nux vomic and they're fine. It's just interesting.
Or
So
watch
you see the
TV or
world
listen to a story or anything. You see
everywhere.
remedy pictures everywhere.
Everywhere. So that's been my journey. And you tap dance to work every day when you love what you do. So it's an absolute pleasure. And we're in the lucky position where we get to listen to people. We have our own views, but the world teaches us every single day, and it's a learning day and life is great. And I myself, I'm in my 50s now. I haven't taken a single tablet since I was 21 with a rugby injury, paracetamol. So 3 decades being clear, don't get ill, didn't have COVID, never had the jabs. All thanks to good old homeopathy and good living. Long may it continue, I think, hopefully. So
I feel like I want to give you a round of applause after that.
That's just the thing. So we're big fans of homeopathy and we're lucky enough to share our knowledge and experience. And by sharing it, we actually grow as well. So that's where we're at.
I do. I feel so grateful listening to my clients' stories every single day. Like every now and again, one of them will say something and I'm like, how did she know that I'm going through this right this moment? And like, what's going on? Like they're our mirrors and they reflect things back to us. And it's just incredible hearing the stories of the human spirit and the things that some of our clients have gone through in their lives. And it's unbelievable. It makes you really grateful to have what you have and to be able to help somebody else. It's really incredible.
Yeah, I love that because we often say that. We say our patients, our clients are here to teach us. They teach us. They're the healer. We have this phrase here at CPH. We say the patient is the healer. The remedy is the information and we are the facilitator. One, that keeps us humble. Second, it keeps us open. Third, it stops us being arrogant. But and often we attract to us, you're absolutely right, patients with conditions that we are thinking about, manifest, or sometimes by healing them, we heal parts of us that we weren't even aware needed healing. I've had so many students who have undergone some kind of trauma in their lives, whether it be a death or grief or abuse, and the very clients they attract facing the same issues. So we have this other phrase. We say, don't just go through any course that you study in the world, grow through the course. And you're right. Life is a mirror. We will draw and attract people, circumstances, and events that help us heal and become better in ourselves. And there's a great sense of gratification when we draw them. We feel their pain, but then we have to remain objective as well. That's the challenge, as Hahnemann says, remain the objective observer at all times. But then we go back and reflect. And one of those sentences, when I started my practice before being a tutor here at CPH, I used to say to my clients and patients, in the UK, we can call them patients sometimes. I used to say, you sit with the consultation with me for maybe an hour. Then you go about your day. After that hour, I'm reflecting. I'm carrying you with me in my mind. I'm researching. I'm reading. I'm repertorizing. So after you leave my office, my homeopath's place, my work for you begins. That's the effort we put into you. And that's how personal we take this one-to-one interaction with you. And they like that. And oftentimes, even just consulting, they'll say, no one's ever listened to me in this way. And there's a phrase that I think I had from one of your podcasts, I don't remember which one particularly, around 70, I think it was. He said, the homeopath's place is one of the safest places where somebody can be totally open. They're not judged. There's not a family member who's going to judge them, or even after they leave our office, that stays with us. We're not going to interact with them socially or physically or think, well, actually, now I know this about your partner, your spouse, and your parents. So there's no judgment whatsoever. They can be totally open. It really is an amazing place. But there you go.
That's pretty cool. We really have the best jobs in the world. I'm just so grateful whenever people like you with a scientific background comes into homeopathy. We're so lucky to have you on our team because you guys think in a different way. But also I love it that scientists and like really critical thinkers somehow find homeopathy very logical. Like once they, instead of just the propaganda that they get fed, once they actually go and study it, they're like, oh, this makes complete sense.
I love the way you said that, Eugene, because people often draw and ask me questions based on my science. And I said, some of the best homeopaths don't need the science because then your mind isn't clouded. It's not skeptical. It's not looking for proof. Let's try and, if we can, quickly not dispel a few myths, but let's talk about some common phrases that we hear in the world. Okay. One of them is it's a placebo effect. Scientists will say there's nothing there. We can't measure it. Sometimes I answer back and say, perhaps you don't have the tools able to measure what's in there. Dogs can hear a dog whistle. We cannot. They can hear it. It exists. I can go out on a lovely sunny day, get some vitamin D in my body through the sun's rays. This is energetic information, energy. So they say this placebo, there's nothing there. I said, it's not a placebo. There's something there. It's energy, which humankind hasn't yet had the machines to discover what's in there, but it's definitely in there. If it is a placebo effect, then they'll tell us patients can get better by thinking themselves better. It's a placebo effect. Thank you very much, doctor. Now you just proved the fundamental principle of homeopathy, what we call mental emotionals. So the very fact that a patient can heal themselves by their thought is the foundation of the classical method. Mental emotionals predate most things. Okay. So you're helping us reinforce just how powerful homeopathy is. But then they'll come back and count. If they can think themselves, how did they get sick in the first place? Then refer them back to first aphorism. The vital force has gone off course. It has forgotten how to heal itself. So the phrase we have here, the students sometimes here at CPH, they call them somisms, the quotes that I come up with. So we'll say things like, the vital force has gone off course. Put the vital force on track and bring the healing back. And sometimes we forget this because sometimes we chase symptoms too many times. The patient has this, they have that. But the body's own healing power has forgotten how to correct itself. If we remind it with the remedies, it will know how to do the rest. So we don't have to chase every particular physical particular at all. If we take it back to the mental emotional, there's the causation and we'll find that we can affect the cure slightly differently. And I think that is something that you and Ellen were talking about on your previous podcast about the paradigm shift. We say that symptoms are the signs of the body, as we know. Disease is the dialogue. We don't want to shut it down. We want to listen to it. But as a sign, it's pointing us to something else. So we need to be detectives of the body and say, where are you pointing me to? I'm not collecting a bunch of symptoms and repertorizing on them symptoms and choosing the remedy that ticks most of the boxes, because some symptoms are caused by mental emotional. Some symptoms may be caused by another condition. Some symptoms may be caused by the very fact that we're taking a drug, an iatrogenic symptom. We have a method called the autopathic method. So if I lump all the symptoms together, there's no waiting on which symptom is more important, which one causes the other. But if we try and focus down to causation, we can look back and say, okay, this is the cause. This is the effect it's having on the body. And if there's an obstacle to cure, the organs are weak, you've had an organ removed, your hormones aren't functioning properly, or you're having side effects of a drug. As often we know in homeopathy, the patient on drugs has to recover twice. First from the drug, second from the disease. But if the drugs are then affecting you, you are no longer the person. So Eugenie, if you came to me and said, Sam, I'm taking an inhaler, I'm also taking an antacid, but now I've got all these mental emotions happening in my life, I can't stomach the stuff that I've been through. I said, Eugenie, you're not Eugenie yet. You're Eugenie plus effects of drugs, which have changed you. If it's a mind-altering drug like an antidepressant, it might have changed you, altered your state of mind. So you're not yourself. Then they may have changed you physiologically. Your body processes will change. They may change you hormonally. Certain things won't work properly. If you take an adrenal or a steroid, it will suppress your adrenal glands. If you take an inhaler, it will suppress your adrenal glands. That causes complications with female cycles, male fertility, etc. All sorts of things. The ability to be sensitive and hypersensitive to allergens, all from the adrenals. So the organs get affected. So first we have to combat and counteract and minimize all of that before we deal with the eugenia that's coming with the mental emotionals. And we often see that that's a block, as we call it, in modern patients. So when we read the couple of 100-year-old texts where people healed them with a 6C or a 3X, patients' constitutions are different. You and I are talking on Wi-Fi, and as we said, there's radiation going through earphones and Wi-Fi and mobile phones. There's petrol. We drive cars. We fly in planes. We have electricity. These things didn't exist when Hahnemann was around. They did things by ink quills and candlelight, and they lived off the food that was grown in the ground and came off the trees. But now the food that's grown in the ground is as pure as it once was. So even a healthy food, which is the original medicine, isn't as intact as it should be. So we are building low levels of toxicity from the minute we're born. And if parents have been on the pill, that affects 2, 3, 4 generations, as we know with epigenetics. It alters us, which is why we are seeing young girls starting their menses earlier and earlier. Before it was 13, 14 years of age, we're seeing girls as young as 8 and 9 now, and hirsutism growing and hairy faces. This is the effects of the pill cascading down. So 6E alone won't deal with it anymore. We have to undo the effects of drugs. And that's the interesting situation we face as homeopaths in the modern world with modern patients. So there you go.
Yeah, I am very glad that you brought up the hormonal aspect, because it's just not right when you see a 9-year-old girl having a period. Mental, emotionally, it's so much for her to deal with. It's a real worry. And women having so much issues, even going through menopause, it should just be a normal stage of life. But some women are, losing their minds and just getting so depressed and just having it should be something that's just natural and normal and without too much interference, like to some level, of course, but it shouldn't be the drama that it is. And yeah, it's very scary. And we could do like several podcasts just on all the stuff in our environment and all the xenoestrogens. And we're seeing the result in children who are confused about their gender. And there's just so much.
That's the point for all our listeners out there, because this is a very real thing we're facing as parents, as people in the community. Xenoestrogens, phytoestrogens, the estrogens in soy milk. There's this massive wave towards veganism and vegetarianism, which in many respects can be a very good, healthy choice for people who choose to do that. But there are countries out there, they'll say, you're looking weak, have a steak. Ours isn't to judge what people should have. However, when we have too much estrogen in our bodies, which is unnatural, that has an effect. And the effect we're seeing in people is, one, early and earlier puberty, onset of puberty, painful periods for young ladies, low sperm count and libido in young males. I've had men as young as 18 with a testosterone count lower than female, a couple of percent. Women have a circulating 2 or 3% ratio of testosterone in their bodies. I've got young boys with this. And you look back and the mother was on the pill, had a vegetarian diet, high on soya, tofu, soya milk.
Probably some IVF in there as well.
There probably will be, and in many cases there is. And then you've got to balance that out. It's going to affect generations and generations. So one is gender identity, but also your question about your gender is one thing, far too deep to go into here. But if you're a man operating as a man and you have low circulating levels of testosterone, that won't let you develop as a man. You won't get the secondary sexual characteristic. Your voice will not deepen. Your shoulders won't broaden. Your musculature won't develop. So then you get these newer, younger males who don't look as manly as they used to. And when you measure their tests, or they come to you with their blood test reports and say, I'm low in testosterone. And you've got children taking testosterone patches, which were once the realm of people 50 years and over, the male menopause, a bit of testosterone, etc., or tribulus terrestris, if you want to use a herb. So when you've got this happening now, and especially with a generation that is so body conscious, there's a whole host of issues that in homeopaths, low self-esteem, etc. We can rep for things like this and end up with remedies. We're not remedy chasing, we don't do that here, but things like lycopodium may come up, lacking self-confidence, low self-esteem, etc., impotence. But then we go back to the root, say, where did this come from? If it makes you question yourself, if your body cannot develop the way it needs to develop naturally, because you're flooding it with hormones, that's interesting. And I'm going to share a quote that Ellen and I did on a clinic a few weeks ago with our students. When the mothers are in utero and they have the baby floating around in the amniotic fluid, but the mother's had IVF, maybe to conceive, or has taken the pill beforehand, or has even taken medications. Now this baby is swimming in a soup of hormones. Now that will have some effect on the baby. So one is an issue of detoxing the mother and the baby. No fault of the babies, but it's been, the parents are the manufacturing plant, the baby is the product. So we have to detox that. We have matridonal remedies, of which you're well aware: umbilical cord, amniotic fluid, placenta, etc., like humanum, to mention a few. But if there's toxicity there, which is being infused in this little baby, this baby is now being full of hormones and toxicity. They're going to be born and come into the world with a liver that's overburdened because it's not yet used to metabolizing the drugs that are in the body. When the liver is overburdened, it can't recycle the hormones that the young female baby will need. That can lead to all sorts of issues. If the liver's toxic, it can lead to skin issues anyway. Skin is governed by the lungs with 5 elements. But it will have a throwback. But it also affects the kidneys and the utilization of the female hormones. So when your baby is born toxic and they manifest with all these illnesses, we have to go back to the parents and take their history more than treating the symptoms of a baby. It's crazy. And the parents say, oh, yes, I did do this. By the way, my mother did this. I took a case 2 weeks ago. We had to go back 4 generations. We had a 16-year-old girl whose mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother were all on the pill. She started the periods at 8 years of age.
Wow.
And now she's 10. She's got excessive hair and she's paranoid of going to school. And imagine the impact on a young girl at that age, especially with body image and body shaming so rife in the world. So we're on a detox program of detoxing the effects of a pill in a girl who's confused, scared, worried, thinking, am I normal? And these are the patients that we deal with in the world these days. Brings its own interesting challenges.
Yeah, and there's so many things these days, which I always say, just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal. There's a lot of very common things these days that are accepted as normal, but it's not. And we always have to, we live in such an artificial world. We always have to take ourselves back to, okay, what is normal? What should we look like? And what should our bodies naturally evolve like? So when you said about the narrower shoulders and things like that, it's not like a judgment on how they look. It is for us to know that there is something wrong with this person's hormones that has meant that they're not developing optimally the way that they should. It's the same with a child who sucks their thumb or their dummy. It means their jaw's going to develop forward. They're not going to have the correct tongue posture. They're going to have issues with airway health, all that sort of stuff. So we're not judging anyone or saying you've done anything wrong. We're just saying these are a sign, just like a cough is a sign or eczema is a sign. This structural development of yours is a sign that there are things that are not working the way that it should. It's not working optimally, and that there's things that we can do about that. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, there's a fantastic book for the parents out there and the mothers. There's a fantastic book. It's quite heavy going, but it's very informative. I think you've heard of it. It's called Deep Nutrition.
Oh, I haven't. Deep Nutrition?
Deep Nutrition. I highly recommend it to our listeners. And I think that the author is Catherine Shannon or Shanahan. Mm-hmm. And I think the subtitle is Why Your Genes Need Traditional Food. Mm-hmm. But it talks about not only the food in the mother, because if the mother is the factory, she's making these children. Okay. Mm-hmm. And a couple of things we'll take away from the book is not to plug the book, but it's a very important book for anyone who's interested in having multiple births. One is the mother loses about 30% of her minerals when she's given birth to a baby. So the first thing, the mother has to remineralize herself. Second, therefore, if babies are born in quick succession within a year, some parents have a baby every year rather than every 1.5 to 2 years, where the mother can remineralize. The firstborn has different eyes, teeth, etc. The younger subsequent children have crowded teeth, the jaw doesn't develop, etc., etc. Because the baby can only draw upon the resources of the mother. And if the mother is not mineralized correctly, this will pass through the generations. But when you look through, I don't like the word the underdeveloped world, but let's look at Asia, Australasia, Africa, where people have good constitutions. The soil is still relatively healthy, not with pesticides and herbicides. The children there, the whites of their eyes are white. They have teeth with perfect, lovely Hollywood smiles. They don't use Colgate toothpaste or any other brand, but and yet they look frank. Their skin is good. They're full of vitality. They may be undernourished. Not oftentimes are they malnourished because they'll pick the fruit from the land. It will be covered in the soil, which is rich in minerals. And the interesting to note is we often talk about vitamins in the world, but vitamins can not function in the absence of minerals. So minerals come first in the health of the body and vitamins come second. And isn't it interesting that soil does not contain any vitamins? It only contains minerals, unless it's been fortified by the agricultural industry. So we need minerals first. And when the plants absorb that through the process of photosynthesis, they then create the vitamins within them, which we then eat. Isn't that amazing to learn?
I'm just
The
like thinking,
minerals.
how did I never really thought about it that way. I feel really stupid now, but yeah, you're right. I never really thought about it that way. It's minerals that's in our soil, not vitamins. So yeah. And then,
Minerals, exactly. We think about this, and maybe this is the scientific or the biochemist in me. I don't want to say that because then it encourages everybody to go and chase biochemistry, which we'll circle back to about the placebo effect in a short while. But what it does tell us, we know there's probably one third of the entire materia medica is the mineral kingdom. All our kali salts, our calc salts, our natrums and our magnesiums, they're all minerals on the periodic table of elements. So when we need these as remedies, we know the body needs them minerally. Shasta did it with his tissue salts, or sometimes they call them bioplasma. So we know that we need minerals to nourish the body, both at an energetic level, at a cellular level, at an organ level, and on the human level. So books like Deep Nutrition will help us understand that. Our teeth, our jaw is all made of minerals. Then we've got the famous polycrest remedies like sulfur, phosphorus, silica that help build plants and humans. So oftentimes you go back to the very great polycrest remedies, that these are the building blocks from which all life exists and sustains itself. So when we have an approach, if I just give one remedy to a person, that might help them. But as a holistic homeopath, I think I need food with you. You might need herbs, but I need to supplement that with some tissue salts, maybe some organ support, etc. So the holistic approach is what we call a whole body system approach, rather than just a one remedy and off you go with calc carb. Calc carb is a fantastic remedy for building, but it works alongside magnesium. Nature teaches us everything we need to know in homeopathy, Eugenie. Calcium and magnesium exist in a 2-to-1 ratio in nature as in our bodies. And when we pick up natural things like almonds, they have that perfect balance of a 2-to-1 ratio. And as we say, when we try and supplement ourselves nutritionally, if I take too much of one, I create an imbalance in something else. We all know about how copper and zinc works in the body with each other. Both essentially needed. Copper helps against things like cramps. It complements magnesium very well. But zinc and selenium are needed for our antibodies, our immune system, and our thyroid glands, and our sex hormones. But if we have too much copper, it causes an imbalance in zinc, and therefore our immune system goes down. It's that delicate balance. So another H word that we often forget in homeopathy is homeostasis. The body loves to restore balance. And I'm still amazed when doctors in the world and patients say, I've had a vitamin B12 injection in my shoulder. Vitamin Bs are water soluble. Anything we don't need, we will excrete in our urine. So why am I getting an intramuscular injection as a bolus for vitamin B12? But also the B is part of a B complex. We're upsetting the balance again. So we've got to be mindful of these things. Before we just go and get a top-up shot somewhere, speak to your naturopath or homeopath and say, what should I do? What am I deficient? Why am I deficient? Where can I go? And just a word of caution to all the people who are vegans now. If you wish to take that as a choice, that's excellent. Just be mindful that your vitamin B levels are supplemented, because we see a lot of that in our vegans. They come up and they have deficiencies. They don't want to take drugs. So we said, just top it up with a daily vitamin. That's it. It's easy. Just to make sure you're well balanced. On that note, there's another observation.
No, you're on a roll.
Another
Keep
observation
going.
I had. Yeah. And we operate and work in England predominantly. I have a lot of people from the Indian subcontinent, India, Asia, Pakistan, etc., where I'd say about 90% are still vegetarians, right? And they're absolutely fine in India. But when they come to Canada, Australia, America, USA, Germany, Europe, they start to become deficient in vitamin D and iron. Isn't that amazing? Vitamin D, understandable, colder climates. India's got wonderful sunshine and they feel better. But the iron deficiency anemia that's prevalent, because when they come to the modern world, it's really cool and trendy to have these stainless steel and aluminium pans, non-stick. Whereas in India, they're cooking on what's called a tava, a cast iron pan. So when you're making your chapatis and your vegetarian food in a cast iron skillet, you're getting all the natural iron you need, but you don't even realize you're getting it. But when you come over to the Western world, and they say grandma's absolutely fine when she's back in the motherland, but every time she visits us, her anemia is rife. And the doctors give them things like ferrous sulfate, which causes horrible side effects, causes black constipation and black stools, but it's also contraindicated in people over 65 years of age because it can cause a fatal heart attack. You're like, whoa, and they're giving this to your grandmother? Just get her to get a little prep pan or something, get a cast iron pan and start your cooking back again. And before you know it, the iron's naturally balanced. Even before we take supplements like ferrophos or anything else, or phos or ferrometallicum or floridix as a herb. So sometimes we go back and understand people's habits. So it's that detective mindset to say, what's changed in your life that's made you here? That stops us chasing diagnoses, diseases, symptoms, but really understanding the patient. What do you do normally? What's changed that's made you present with this? Ask me about the 3 T's in a short while.
The 3 keys. This is the cool thing with the College of Practical Homeopathy, because you guys teach all the other, because you do nutrition and flower essences and things like that as well.
Yes.
I really like that because it is so important. Homeopathy is amazing, but we do need to know those other bits and pieces as well. And yeah, I'm so glad you've mentioned that. I was going to ask you about iron injections, because I have had several clients who have had a never well since iron injection, several. And they just promoted as safe and nothing to worry about. But so many of them have come to me and they've just never been right since.
I think the thing is, anytime we go to the allopathic world and we need to be injected, that's a bolus or it's an infusion of stuff that we don't need. Or there are instances where if we have pernicious anemia, etc., there might be that we have a need for them. But we've got to be careful with that. First, try the natural route is what we'll always say. Iron is iron. It will coagulate in your blood. You only need a certain amount of iron. You need heme along with that. You need red blood cells along with that. You need erythropoietin, which is released from the bone marrow in the cells, in your bone cells, okay? That's another protein that helps the red blood cells form and bind to iron. So people come with these injections, but then we can treat that easily, right? It depends if they're born with it. Sometimes we say we can't put in what God or the universe left out. That's one thing we have to understand our limitations.
You have such good somisms.
There are many.
You need to put it in a book.
Oh dear, So that's one of the phrases. But then we have another somism when we say if the body can produce it, the body can reduce it. So if something has happened in your life's journey that has caused you to be a certain way, we have to determine that cause. And so we have this at CPH. We call it CEO, cause, effects, and obstacles. If you have no drugs, you're not smoking or drinking or taking recreational drugs or allopathic drugs or herbs, there are no obstacles. So, but something has caused your iron to change, shall we say. And I always ask my patients and clients, I say, please speak to me like I'm 5 years old in plain English. I might have an education in allopathic medicine, but I don't like fancy smanchy words. They confuse people. They scare parents. And doctors often say, it's a rare condition we've hardly ever seen. And they're like, oh my gosh, am I doomed? What the doctors mean is, we've not seen this, first thing. So it's rare for them. Sometimes the doctors say it's incurable. So I ask our listeners to say, when they say it's incurable, what they're saying to us Eugenians is they're saying, we don't have the means in our system of medicine to treat it. That's fine, doctor. There's 12 or 15 healing arts. Chiropractors use hands. Aromatherapists use oils. Acupuncturists use needles. Reflexologists use your feet. Reiki practitioners use energy. Chinese practitioners use their herb and the meridian system. Ayurvedic will use the dosas and things and the remedies there. There are so many healing arts out there. Please don't be dismayed because your doctor says they cannot cure it. Just say, thank you for telling me that your system doesn't work. I'm in the UK, you're in Australia. My car won't help me get to you, but an aeroplane might. So my system of transport is insufficient. Another somism, right? So I'm not using the right transport system to get and sit with you and have a coffee, but an aeroplane might get me there better. So when medical system or any other healing system, it's not because the system is bad. All healing arts have a place. They're all valid. But if you choose one system, try and make it the most appropriate system for what you need to achieve. So when one person says we cannot heal this, what they're saying is, I don't have the skills or the system or my training hasn't taught me this. That's okay. Thank you. Now let my search continue. It's not the end of your search and despair. It's the start of a journey into discovery. That's that. So if someone's anemic and they're having iron injections, we would look for the cause. If they were fine once and something happened, as above, so below. Herring's law of cure, as we know, right? But as we say, everything manifests in the mind. I gave a talk over in America in January called The Pathology of Emotions. And this goes back to our placebo effect. So, doctor, the patients can think themselves better. But as the somism said, the vital force has gone off course. So the remedy reminds them, puts it on track, brings the healing back. But now our brain is all nerves, so we sense the world around us, what we call mental. Inside there, we have the hypothalamus, pituitary, and the pineal gland, which are our glands, and there are feelings, which we call emotional. So the universal God, whatever word you want to use, we humans have been created with a system that enables us to think and feel. And these master glands cascade down every other gland, and they release hormones that affect other nervous systems and muscles and body parts, and then the disease manifests. So as above, so below. So it actually all starts in the mind or the thinking. The thoughts and feelings literally create our life, not just with the law of attraction, but we're designed that way. And these 3 tiny little glands in our brain, they release the pro hormones and the precursor hormones for everything else. We all know this anyway, right? And we have hormones that can treat that. But we also have the Sarcode method that can treat the organs if they're not functioning correctly. Isn't homeopathy amazing? If you ask a doctor in the allopathic world, can you give me something to help my organ function better? No. We can give you a transplant. I don't want a transplant. But the number of cases we've seen of people on kidney failure reverse, not just through serum angulate, eel serum, many other conditions as well, but that's therapeutic approach. But the body is meant to wear and repair, not wear and tear. Another sonism for you.
You're a poet and you don't know it.
It's designed to wear and repair. It has the tools if we allow it. So this brings us to the 3 T's we teach you, the 3 T's of disease. We have them in a triangle. The bottom T at the first bottom left, if you can draw a triangle for the listeners, is trauma. If you've had a trauma, we can deal with that. If it's an immediate trauma, we have all the acute remedies. And I know you ask people for their 3 favorite remedies. I love that at the end, right? And people will come with aconite, arnica, etc. Easiest thing of the alphabet starts with A. Let's get that out of the way. But arnica is an amazing remedy because it's trauma in all its forms. Mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. Isn't that interesting? That's on the realm of meditative provings, but we won't go there today. So if it's a trauma, we can deal with it. But trauma has also never been well since. I had an accident when I was 7. Then we have the etiological method to go back in history and time travel. And oftentimes I teach my students, say, if you want to do time travel, that's where the higher homeopathic potencies, they take you back to the future. They can go past time, transcend time, remove an obstacle to cure. Never been well since. Okay, that's the first T, trauma. If it's not a trauma, then we ask, is the body toxic? Or is there toxicity that's damaged an organ? If you're smoking and you've got emphysema and bronchitis, let's deal with the smoking first, not just the grief that sits behind that, or the thymus gland, etc. There's lots of layers there. But is there trauma? Is there toxicity? Are you taking drugs that are affecting you? Oftentimes we'll take a beta blocker for blood pressure. We might take an inhaler. But the doctors don't tell us that these things cause diabetes. It's one, in fact, that proton pump inhibitors, omeprazole, Losec, things like this, they cause kidney failure if taken for more than 3 months.
And every drug you take causes vitamin and mineral deficiencies. Actually, I wish I could get more clients to just go research the deficiency that your particular drug causes and just take that in a supplement at least.
You know what, Eugenie? I love the fact you said that. We're giving some more trade secrets on our course here, but we're here to share. There's a fantastic book called Drug Muggers by Susie Cohen. You've probably heard of that one. She's a brilliant there you go. These are the secrets of CPH. She's a fantastic pharmacist in the US, brilliant author. She writes particularly well. It's one of our course texts for the students on our courses, okay? And it's called Drug Muggers. And I love the fact you've said that, Eugenie. As a homeopath, as a consultant, as a mom, you know this and the effects of this. Patients don't. Every drug you take depletes you of something in one way, shape, or form. If you read the Drug Muggers book, you will be very well empowered to help yourself, your family, and your clients. We'll give a simple takeaway because every time I listen to your podcast, I learn so much. Everybody that's been on there has some great snippets to take away with us. So I feel I'm constantly learning by listening to your podcast. So if I can humbly share something there, probably people know it. If we're on a statin, which the whole world seems to be on these days, people over 40 need coenzyme Q10 anyway for their heart to function properly. We know this. Statins deplete coenzyme Q10. So you don't need the RDA, you need double the RDA. So that's just a little simple thing there. And there's other cofactors, things for diabetes and such that people will need. So if you read the books, they will tell you what you're going to need and what the body depletes. And that's why sometimes in other songs when we say it's the difference that makes the difference. Supplement back in so your body has the resources to rebuild regardless of the drugs you take. If you're worried about the drugs you're taking, speak to your homeopath. And most homeopaths now will use tautopathy to help counter-effect the bad effects of the drugs. We're not suggesting people should stay off their drugs. It's not our business. We didn't put you on it. That's your choice. But at least minimize the dangerous effects. And there's a wonderful homeopathic method called the tautopathic method. There's one more specific called the isopathic method, which is exact for exact. And pretty much every homeopath will know these things. So that book, Drug Muggers, is very useful for people to have. You can Google it. Drugs depleted by medication. They'll also show you that way as well. So if it's not a trauma in the body and it's not toxicity in the body, then it's got to be thought. So if we have a patient and say, is there any trauma? No. But I've got stomach issues. Okay. Are you taking any drugs or anything? Nope. Are you drinking heavily, which also depletes all your B vitamins, your zinc and selenium? Nope. People often say, I'm eating too many spicy foods, etc., etc. You can modify your diet if you wish, but the issues are still there. Right. So now it has to be a thought. There's another phrase we have at CPH, the body never lies, but people do. You know, the number of fit yoga people, joggers, gym goers I've seen who are lean, healthy, they juice, they'll kale in the morning, they'll do their mindfulness and meditation, but they're still not right. So that tells us it's something in the mind. It's not the food, it's not the body. So we've got to deal with what's in the mind. So if it's always one of them 3 T's, nothing else. So if we take them 3 T's and say we need to work on that process, but then we need the training to enable us to work through that process with different methods. And I'm sure you will have touched on Ellen's book, The Methods in Homeopathic Prescribing, of which there are 15. That should empower all the homeopaths out there to say, if my method that I've been trained in doesn't work, there are other methods that I can look at to help me, to help my patient. But it's that understanding that goes beyond that as well. If that makes sense. So that's the kind of approach we have. A little bit different to just collecting symptoms, to say, let's get to the causation. And then we have a job as homeopaths. We have to educate all of our patients and clients around the world to talk to us in terms of feelings, thinkings, and life. Because conventional medicine teaches us to talk in symptoms. Hi, doc, my back's hurting. I've had a headache for a month. I don't know why. But I lost my job a month ago, so my lower back will tell me that it's the burdens of life that I'm having problems with money. Aha. But then doctors don't ask you how things. If I do a consultation, the first thing I ask my patients is, how are you? What's happening in your life? I don't even look at their symptoms or the previous appointment. Because once you tell me what's going on in your life, I can see what will have gone and what will have not gone. And if it was such a big deal, they'll say, forget my life, my knee is still hurting. So they'll often tell us, but if we don't coach them to talk about their life, their circumstances, their work, and their families, in a way, we're doing them a disservice. Because then we become allopathic note takers, but using homeopathic remedies. So as a homeopath, we're interested, what is happening in your life? What's going on lately? What has changed? Oh, you lost your mom. You lost your pet dog, your favorite animal for 15 years. Your son left home. So you got death of loved ones, ailments from being alone, grief. Now I understand what's going on. I'm sitting at home alone. The usual remedies may pop up. Natmia or Ignatia or a Metallicum, Pulsatilla perhaps even. I sit at home crying. Nobody comes to see me. Oh, okay. No wonder if you've got constipation, now I can see why. Because the lungs and large intestine ruled by the emotion of grief. But they govern the respiratory tract, the skin and the hair. So if the hair's falling out, they're sighing, keynote of Ignatia, isn't it? The sighing, sitting, sobbing. Sob, can't tell you. Now the body will tell us what's going on. And that's why we love it, that the body never lies, but people do. I'm okay. No, you're not. Why have you got an ulcer? So let's talk. And then people say, I can't eat this food. I cannot eat that food. To which I respond, it's not what you can't eat. What's eating you? The emotion. So
I just want to turn all of these into like little memes.
Do it. So the college often do. They have these little sophisms every now and again. They hear a phrase and they just flow in through conversations. They help us to understand the world, Eugene, in a very simplistic way, but in a very powerful way. Because the simpler we make it, our clients understand that language. It takes away the fear of a diagnosis or a weird, long medical name. I'm saying, so tell me what happens. Even asthma. I have asthma. I know what asthma is. But what is your asthma? When I walk up the stairs, I get breathless. Okay. When I go out and the cold hits my chest, I get breathless. But one is ammonium carbonicum, one is aconite. What have you got for asthma? I've got 200 remedies. How long do you have? So let's talk about you and how your asthma manifests in your body. But now tell me like I'm 5 or 10 years old in simple English. Because the simpler your English, the better my rep work gets. We have another sophism here at the college. We say, do the rep work and the rep will do the work. Because all the great homeopaths before us, Eugenie, they've done an amazing job of making these wonderful books and repertories. So I don't need to think because the masters before us have done that work. All I need to be is a great user of their knowledge and not invent the wheel. We do invent things here. We have new remedies, etc. Now let's go back to the placebo effect. Doctors say my drugs have been done in a randomized placebo-controlled trial with 10,000 patients in 6 months. Bravo, doctor. My remedies have been here since the earth was created. And we don't call them a trial. We have a powerful word. It's called a proving. Oh, so we don't need clinical trials where we try. We proved it. In fact, our great homeopaths were so brave, they proved it first on themselves.
Yeah.
I don't see you taking the drug. You rather get humans to go to clinical trials and inject them with all these drugs and measure them like lab rats with monitors and things. Why don't you take the drug? Oh, no, it's dangerous. Okay. Come to our great homeopaths that led the world and paved this path for us, who were brave enough to take lacasis and have all the remedies of the bushmaster snake. Tell us about that. Tell us about Hahnemann who took quinine and woke up with symptoms of malaria. Would you do that, doctor? Heck no. Okay, interesting. So come and talk to me about the great, brave people that paved the way of great homeopaths, and they still do. Every day we get new provings of new remedies. So we're in a world where we shouldn't be backward in this. We should be very proud that we have a heritage as old as the earth itself. We were derived from herbalism in the first instance. But what we took the energy from herbs, from the tincture, not the material substance, and that energy is from the ether that's universal. It cannot be created or destroyed. So there's no expiry date on things, and it will just permeate. And just like our satellite TVs or our cell phones, the body will take the frequency it needs. It won't interact. Oftentimes, I'm going to dispel one more myth if I may. We often get asked by people, how about combination remedies? There are Banerjee protocols. There are Narayani combos. There's loads of combos around the world. I'm not going to say if they're right or wrong. I'm going to say have no fear if they are combos. If any of you guys have a satellite TV or cable TV at home or a digital radio, all the stations are transmitting at the same time. The only one you're going to listen to is the one you're tuned into. If I press BBC News, CNN in America doesn't shut down, or ESPN, right? Because they're still transmitting. They don't crash. They don't interact. And people say they've not been put together. And let me give one more insight. It's a beautiful sunny day. Light, if we put a prism, will split into the 7 colors of the rainbow, called the visible spectrum. So even the scientists tell us that there's more out there that we cannot see, the invisible spectrum. But we can see 7. But when they merge, we cannot see any of them, but they're still in there, aren't they? So we have the light, it's a bright sunny day, clear light. When it rains, we see the 7 colors of the rainbow. They exist within the light, but we cannot see them. But when we split the light, we can see them. So when people say if you merge the remedies, they interact and affect one another. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet don't interact with each other. They merge into one, but they're still there. This is profound. It's very deep.
It is profound. Like I am literally
very profound. Yes.
Mind-blowing. The mind-blowing emoji is like going off.
Yeah. and this is the way we teach it here at CPH. You've got the light. And then a physicist, a quantum physicist will say, okay, Som, I understand quantum energy. Great. But I still don't believe in homeopathy. Okay. The quantum physicist will understand light. Then I'll tell him, can you capture red, orange, and yellow and put them in 3 different bottles for me from light? No? Okay. But guess what? My homeopathy can give you aconite, belladonna, and chamomile in 3 different bottles. So come back to me when you can talk to me at my level. I can't understand how homeopathy works, but I can explain it with basic science that everybody will understand and think, oh my goodness, right? So I hope the listeners listen to that bit again, so don't be afraid of combination remedies in that respect, because the universe and the world already has that with us. If I can, let me do one more example, which I love. Science tells us positive and negative, electromagnetic force. We say like cures like. Science tells us that opposites attract and like repels. Electromagnetic. If you've got positive and negative, they attract. If you're positive to positive, they repel. That is cures the positive. If we put the same remedy, it knocks out that disease, is the thinking, right? But now, if they tell us about atoms and molecules, inside an atom, there are protons, all positively charged, stuck together, with a negatively charged electron whizzing around. Shouldn't that electronic that's negative be attracted to the protons that are positive? And shouldn't the protons that are positive be repelling each other? So the electromagnetic force, which we all learn at high school science, either it's wrong or there's a force more powerful than the positive and negative force. And they know about that. It's called the strong force, funnily enough, in physics. We use that. That is what homeopathy is. It's a force that's stronger than the logical positive negative that can counter-explain why positively charged protons stay together in a nucleus and don't repel, and why the electronically charged electron can whiz around and not be stuck to the protons. Science teaches us one more thing. All the planets go in an orbit, but the orbit isn't circular. It's elliptical. So at one point, that planet is closer to the sun than at another point. If it's closer, why doesn't it burn? If it's further, why doesn't it go out of orbit? So see this universal force that's in the universe, the ether. That is what homeopathy actually is. It's tapping into that, which is contained in every plant, animal, mineral, and substance. Therefore, don't be scared that you're taking a snake remedy. You're not going to turn into a snake. Don't be afraid if you're taking a female remedy. People say sepia is a female remedy. It's from an animal in the ocean, cuttlefish, right? So you're not going to turn into a female. There's no male or female remedies. They're just energy derived from a male, a female, a plant, or an animal. But it's that energy that pervades all physical matter that we tap into by succussing that has effects that we are still discovering 200-300 years later.
Mm.
So hopefully this little about 5 minutes of this, that people replay that again, it's quite profound.
It's so profound. It's literally the best explanation I've ever heard of what homeopathy is. That is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing.
There you go. We should talk about that further, I think. And that's the kind of way we try and explain homeopathy here at CPH, to say, be fearless prescribers. Don't be afraid of the naysayers. If they do, come to me. Together we'll work through a response and an answer.
If that doesn't work, you have a history in rugby. He'll tackle them.
I like it. There you go. Well, we can tackle it. I like that. So we'll use that as a metaphor. We can tackle any issues that come together with our combined knowledge and practice as homeopaths, adding a little bit of basic sprinkling of science, a lot of logic, and hundreds of years and thousands of years of our combined experience. All of us listeners, we've got thousands of years of experience here. Because we add all of us together, that's a lot of experience with a lot of clients worldwide. Not 10,000 people on a clinical trial, hundreds of millions of people worldwide for centuries. That's what homeopathy brings to the table. So we should be proud homeopaths wherever we are on our journey of homeopathy. So they're just some of the thoughts. Hope we get a chance to speak again in the future, Eugenie. There's lots we can talk about. But,
well, I just think your students are so lucky to get to have you and Alan as their lecturers, because you both are very profound with your depth of knowledge and your width. It's not just it's a width as well. There's so much width and so much depth. I think it's any student that's graduating from CPH is definitely, I think they would be walking out of there very confident practitioners with a lot in their toolkit.
We're trying to share more and more if we can. But like I said, we're grateful for what we learned from you and all the other great people that have gone before us. The people around the world that you interview, they bring to us things that we haven't thought about. Shamanism, water, revisiting the old from the Solomon Islands. I think you did that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So these podcasts that we're forever learning. And if you just take one snippet from every, you've got nearly 300 podcasts. That's 300 bits of information.
But your episode is scheduled to be episode 301.
No, there you go. 301.
I was actually just going to, I just checked before because I was like, I wonder when you scheduled. I'm like, you're 301. So there you go. Magical number. On the 8th of July, apparently, unless some, there's no, everything else is recorded. Sometimes there's somebody that cancels and then it mucks up my schedule, but no, everyone else is recorded today. So 8th of July, 301.
Cannot wait. I love that.
Awesome. Oh, it was incredible talking to you. You have dropped so many truth bombs today. It's just bombs going off everywhere. How can people get hold of you and how can they get hold of CPH?
Okay, two things there. Can I make one announcement if I may as well?
Sure.
How you get hold of us is just som@thecph.co.uk and the website is thecph.co.uk. So that's the easy bit. We are literally writing as we speak a very unique course because we teach the courses that create professional homeopaths, licensed professional homeopaths. What we've learned and what you've taught as well with your podcast, there are many people in the world who don't want to be a professional, but they want to adequately treat their homes and families. So we've created a category of homeopathy called familyhomeopathy.com. And this is not a home prescriber course where you just have a basic kit. It actually goes through and teaches you module by module. It's a progressive course and it gives you a certificate, not a qualification, in family homeopathy. And we're launching that in June. So stay tuned with us. You've had my details. Inquire. We're very excited about this because this brings 30 years of worldwide experience for families and parents, not only our children, but as our parents age. We want to be able to help them. And what we're learning is through the last 5-10 years, more and more people are staying in our homes, our elderly parents. We want to look after them as well as our children, as well as our partners. So that there's a massive need for being a family homeopath.
Yeah.
So we're very proud to that. We've been busy squirreling away with that. And a lot of the thinking that we've had, we're bringing these into this new course as well. Hopefully it's of value. We'll be grateful if people find it that way and we'll shape it as we go and we'll forever learn. We're very grateful that you let us speak to you today and share some of our humble thinkings.
Such a pleasure, Som. It was wonderful to hang out with you and I can't wait for this episode to drop. I think our listeners are going to love it.
Thank you so much, Eugene.
All the best. Keep in touch.
Bye-bye.